Hello dear students, my name is Veer Bhatt and on behalf of Vdvs Vidya Sankul, we will be starting our first lecture on e-learning that will be in a science portion, and we are going to start our first chapter in the science in standard 8, that will be crop production and management. So before we starting this chapter, let us take a brief preview on this chapter, that what we are going to study in this chapter. So first of all, we are going to start with the crop production and management. We are going to start from the basic definition regarding the crop. After that we will see how can we produce this crop, and then we will decide and then we will discuss that how can we manage this crop production that we have grown in our farms. Okay, so these are the basic concept regarding the crop production and management we are going to study in this chapter. Now let us take a brief preview of that what we are going to study in this chapter. See, this is your chapter that we are going to start, and these are the topics that we are going to study in this chapter. And first topic we are going to see about what is the crop. So first we will discuss the basic definitions regarding the crop. Definition in which we can see that the crop will be given as the when we are growing a plant in a large portion at a one place, that will be basically called as the crop. So generally if we are growing a same kind of plant in a one place in a large portion, that will be called as the crop. After that we are going to see the types of crop. That means we are going to discuss about the various kinds of crops that will be produced in the different kinds of seasons. As we are discussing this lecture in a rainy season, so what are the plants that is growing on a rainy season? After that we will discuss what is the plants that will be grown on a summer season. Also we are going to discuss in a different types of plant in a different kinds of season. So on the basis of the different kinds of season, there will be two kinds of plant that will be available, and through two kinds of crops that will be available, and this will be called as the Rabi crops and Kharif crops. After that we will see the third type of crop that will be available in the market, that will be called ZD crops, and we will discuss that in next topics. Afterwards we will start that topic in the brief discussion. There we are going to study about that what we are going to do. Okay, and afterwards, after seeing the types of the crops that will produce in the farms, then we will discuss the different kinds of agricultural practices. So first of all we need to discuss that what is the agriculture. It means basically a study regarding the farms. The study regarding the farms which we are using and which we are developing in the daily basis will be known as the agriculture. So after that, starting the topic of agricultural practices, it means how to grow the crops in the different kinds of scenario. Okay, how can we grow the plants in the how can we grow the plants or crops in the farms? So this is the basically study regarding that. So we have to do the step by step procedure of the agricultural practices for to developing the crops. Okay. Basically for that we need to start with the first step as a preparation of soil. First of all we need to prepare the soil to grow the crops there. If we can't prepare the soil to grow the crops there, the crops will doesn't grow there. Okay, so we need to prepare the soil for that. If the soil is very good and healthy and it contains the more nutrition and more minerals in it, then the crop will grow very more efficiently and very easily. So for that we need to prepare the soil. After that we will discuss the second step of sowing. Sowing means adding the seeds into the soil. After preparing the soil, what we have to do is the second step, that we have to put the seeds into the soil. So how can we put the seeds into the soil? That are the methods that we are going to see in a sowing part. Then the third part we will discuss, that will be adding manure and a fertilizer. In that topic we are going to see about the fertilizer and manure. So what is the fertilizer and what is the manure? So whenever the soil has a rich or has a less nutrition or has a less minerals in it, then we are going to do that we have to increase the level of nutrition and we have to increase the level of minerals into the soil. So for that we are what we are going to do, that we are going to do the add the fertilizer or add the manure into the farms into the soils. Okay, for that we need to understand what is the fertilizer and what are the different types of fertilizer that is available in the market. After that, what are the different types of manure that is available in the market, and we are going to study about that. Then how can we prepare the manure, how can we prepare the fertilizer. Okay, if we want to add the fertilizer and manure into the soil, then we need to understand how can we prepare the fertilizer and manure also. Then afterwards we can add the manure and fertilizer into the soil. Then we are going to study about the irrigation. Now these all points we are discussing is that what happened when we put the seeds into the soil. Now what we have to do, that we have to give them a water. As we know that we want to grow the plants, then we need to add water into that. So for that we need to do the irrigation process. Irrigation means we are giving the water by different kinds of method to the crops, that will be known in the irrigation topic. So in irrigation topic we are going to study about the methods regarding the modern techniques, method regarding the earlier techniques. So ancient techniques, modern techniques, that will all consist in the irrigation portion. Okay, how can we give the water to the crops, that will be the methods regarding studies we are going to conduct in the irrigation portion. After that we are going to study about how can we protect the crops, how can we protect the crops from weeds. So generally what is weeds, that the unwanted necessary plants growing surroundings the crop, that will be known as the weeds. Okay, so we have to protect our crops from these weeds, because it is an unwanted and unnecessary plant that is growing surrounding the crops, so we have to remove that. And for that we are going to do a procedure, that will be the step number 5. After that we are going to discuss the harvesting. Harvesting means if now the crops are grown, then what should we have to do? Then we are going to do the cutting process of the crops, and this cutting process of crops are the studies that we are going to conduct in the harvesting portion. So different types of cutting process that we are doing in the nowadays, and also in ancient days or in earlier days we are going to do some kind of different techniques for the harvesting. So that is the studies also we are going to do in the harvesting portion. Afterwards we are going to study about now the plants are cutted and going to some places. So now what should we have to do? We have to store them, because it is not necessary that if I grow the crops and at this moment the plant will get sold out. Okay, so for that I need, what should I do? That what I have to do, that I have to store these plants into some kinds of place, and to do that I have to manage that plants, or I have to manage that crops that is now I have put it into some places. So I have to make sure that the storage will be very convenient, that I am going to store the crops are there, because if the place that I am storing the crops are there is not sufficient, or it is not capable, then what happens, the plants or the crops that I am storing there will be get wasted. So for that I need to manage this storage very, very carefully. And the last topic we are going to study in this chapter is that food from the animals. So make sure that what we are going to study in this chapter, that the food contains from the animals. Okay, what we are using for the animals, food animals, and what we are going to do as a poultry farming, why the poultry farming is very, very important, and these kinds of management and these kinds of study we are going to do in the last topic. So these are the brief preview regarding your chapters. Now what we are going to do, we are going to start with each and every topics step by step. So let us discuss the first topic regarding the crop. But crop, what is a crop? We have to start. But before that, let us take a general preview that will give you a basic information regarding these studies or this chapter. So first of all, food. As you know that this is the very, very important part and important point. You already know it. But what is the definition for food? Why the food is important in our life, day-to-day life? The food is very, very important to us. And why this happened? So first point is given as that it is the requirement of life to survive. It is the basic requirement of life to survive. Because in a life processes there will be a 4 process that we are doing continuously and constantly to living our life. So what are these 4 processes that is most important to our body? That will be, first is the nutrition, second is the respiration, third one is the transportation, and fourth one is the excretion. These are all the process that we are doing because we want to grow our body and we want to live our life. These are the most important process. So for the first process, in the nutrition process, if you study in standard 6, that the nutrition process basically consists the 2 kinds of nutritions, autotrophic nutrition and heterotrophic nutrition. So in autotrophic nutrition, you know that the organisms which make their own food in the own circumstances, it will be known as the process of autotrophic nutrition. The organisms which producing the food and dependence on the another organism, that will be called as the heterotrophic nutrition. But in a nutrition process, as we are knowing that we want to eat the food, okay, we are eating the food, and why this is important? Because of our basic life because it is our basic requirement to live the life, and that is why it is the most important part in our day-to-day life and our body and make sure to prepare our body. Okay, now it is made up of various kinds of energy rich substances like carbohydrates, proteins, fats, vitamins, minerals, which are known as the nutrition. That is the point we have discussed earlier, that nutrition is the process, but nutritions means all of that. Nutrition is a one kind of process. It means the process that we are doing, and we are eating the food, and after that eating the food, if we utilize that into some kind of energy, then it is known as a nutrition process. But what is just nutrition? That if we consist the carbohydrate, protein, fat, vitamin and mineral into one point, then they all are called as the nutrition. Okay, this is the very basic information regarding the food. Okay, so food is very important. So make sure how can we produce this food into mass generation. Okay, we have to grow the food into a large scale. Okay, for that we are going to study the crop production and management. So before we are going to there, let us take functions of food. That will be, food provides energy for various metabolic activities. We need a food for doing and respiration process. We need if we want to do some kinds of work, then it is also necessary that we have to eat the food. It helps in growth and development of the body. Okay, if we want to help our body and growth the body, okay, then we need to eat the food. It helps in the replacement of the worn out tissues, repair of damaged cells and healing of wounds. Okay, if we don't eat the food, then the red blood cells or white blood cells are not producing in our body, and that will be damage our health and our organ system. Okay, so if we want to, and you are already know that this is the corona pandemic is going on, so what we want to do with our body, that we have to eat more healthy food in our body, that will gives us the more immunity, that will gives us the more immune system and boost up our immune system. So for that and then we are going that how can we manage and how can we trusted our healthy system so that the coronavirus cannot affect our health. For that we are going to eat the food. This is the basic idea that I am giving you for the it is help in the damaged cell and healing the wounds. If you don't eat the food, the red blood cells can't produce, white blood cells can't produce, platelets can't produce, so your wound gets wounds or healing of wounds can't get the reduction. For that you need to eat the food. It provides the protection against the disease. Generally, if we are not eating the food, then you know that the health system is going downwards in your body, and it will decrease the protection of the disease. So for that you need to continuously eat the food. Now where can we get the foods? So for that we are going at the third point. Sources of foods are cereals, pulses, oilseeds, crops, fruits and vegetables. These are all the studies we are going to do in the crop production. These are all the parts of the crops, and that we are going to start in this chapter, crop production and management. But what are the cereals? Some kinds of cereal. Then let us take look at us. What are the examples of cereal? What is the example for pulses? what is the example for oil seeds crops, and let us take examples for fruits and vegetables. Okay, first I am going to show you some kinds of cereals as you can see on your screen. Okay, these are the some kinds of cereal as you can see on the screen. Okay, you can write the examples, okay, for each and individual point. After that, this is the maize, bajra. These are all the crops that we are eating in our day-to-day life. Okay, these are the jowars. Okay, we can see in the screen. These are the pulses in which urad and the dal. This we are going to this. This is the we are going eat in everyday life. Okay, so for that it is very important. Okay, these are the peas. You can pause the screen whenever you want to pause the screen and look at the picture very sufficiently. Okay, if you want to look the picture very carefully, then what you need to do, that you need to click on a pause button that is going on a video at the moment. You can pause from there and you can see the photographs from there, and then you can take the screenshot whenever you want to take a screenshot. Okay, afterwards this is the oil seeds crop. It means they are the crops that is producing the oil. So in soybean, groundnut, these are the all studies and the all examples regarding the oil seeds crop. It means we can produce the oil from there. Okay, root crops, these are the examples of the root crops. Means it is grown from the earth surface. Okay, so these are the root crops. Okay, now the agriculture's basic definition comes that you have to write in your fair book. Okay, so for that it is the branch of science. Okay, first to come here is the basic definition of agriculture, and you need to understand that it is the branch of science which deals with the production of plants and raising of animals useful to man. I have already told you that what is the agriculture. It means if we are doing a study regarding the farms, or if we are doing the study regarding the animals, or if we are doing the study regarding that will the sources that helps our human beings have, then it will becomes in a portion of agriculture. So basically it is just a branch that in that branch we are going to study regarding all of that. Okay, and then what it involves. If we want to study the branch, okay, suppose you want to do a study regarding any branch, then what you need to do? Then you need to understand what is the subject that is come in the branch, what are the portion that is come in a branch, what are the experiment that is come in that branch. We are going to do all of the study regarding that. So it is also agriculture, it is also a branch. So for that we need to study a step-by-step procedure that is come in this branch. So for that it involves the soil cultivation. Means we have to do parts regarding or subject regarding the soil cultivations. How can we grow, how can we manage the soil cultivations. Okay, we need to study about that. Then the breeding system, then the management of crops and livestock. Okay, we have to do all the studies regarding that. Okay, then the crop. First definition, likewise agricultural definition, you have to write the crops definition because it is very important. Okay, for that the crops definition is here. When plants of same kinds are grown and cultivated at one place on a large scale, it is called a crop. If we are growing a same kind of plant, so for that suppose if I am growing root crops like carrot on a large scale on any soil, then it will be called as a crop. Okay, for example, you can take whatever the plants or whatever the crops you can take it. Okay, whatever the thing you want to take, you can take it. That the plant of the same kind on a large scale can be considered in a crops. Okay, different types of crops are require different climate condition. As we have seen in the preview of this lecture, that types of the crops are coming in that. So for that we have seen that the two kinds of or the three kinds of plants that will be available due to the different types of seasons present in our India. Okay, for that we are going to see the different types of crop here. Okay, as you can see on the screen that the types of crops are Kharif crop, Rabi crops and Zaid crop. Okay, we can see that Kharif crop is grown during the monsoon or rainy season. The whichever the plant that is grown in a rainy or monsoon season is called as a Kharif crop. Now if we are growing crops during the winter season, then it will be considered in a Rabi season. And if we are growing a plant, or if we are growing a crops during the summer season, then it will be called as the Z crop. Okay. So rainy or monsoon seasons plants required a warm and a wet weather. Rabi season crops required a cold and a dry weather. Z crops required a warm, dry weather. So these are the important and necessary conditions regarding the weather. Okay, if the weather like warm and wet are present, then and then only the rainy season's crop can grow. If the cold and dry weather is present, then and then only the Rabi crops will be grow. If the warm and dry weather is consist there, then and then only the Z crops will be grow. Okay. After that, generally in which month we can produce the Kharif crop, which are the month which we can produce the Rabi crops, and what are the month that can we produce the Z crops. So for that, if we want to grow the Kharif or the Kharif or the rainy season crop, then we need to grow the plants on June, July, and harvested in September, October. We do not need to focus on a harvested part, just only focus on a sown. So we have to sow on these seeds or the plants or the crops into the June, July month, then and then only we can produce the crops, and it is necessary that if we want to produce the Kharif crop, then the warm and wet weather will also present. And where is warm and wet weather is present, then it is only present in June and July month. So if the June and July month is come, then you can sow the seeds of the Kharif crops. Okay. Likewise, sown in October and November, if we want to grow the Rabi crops, then what we want to do, that we have to sow in these plants October and November, and then we are going to do the harvested part afterwards. And for the Z crops, we have to sown in the March. Okay. So these are the sown means what? We have to put the seeds into the soils. Okay, simply we can say that, and we can memorize that if we want to grow the plants of rainy, Rabi or the Z crop, then what we want to do, that we have to sow these into the June, July month, that we have to sow means we want to put the seeds into October and November month, and what we have to do, we have to put the seeds into March month. Okay, then and then only these kinds of plants are grown. Now if the plants gets younger, okay, gets mature, then what we have to do, we have to harvest them, we have to cut them, na? Because we want to sold them into the market. So for that, what we are going to do, that we are going to do the harvesting process. So Kharif crops harvesting process will be taken in a September to October month. So for that, it needs generally 3 months of time duration to mature crops. Okay. So we can harvested the Kharif crop into September and October. We can harvested the Rabi crops into the March and April, and we can harvested the Z crop in the June. Here are some examples regarding the Kharif or rainy season, Rabi winter season, and Z crops. Here are the examples. You can write the example like rice and jowar. It will be called as the Kharif crops. Wheat and mustard and potatoes are the plants called or crops called as the Rabi crops. And seasonal fruits and vegetables. Seasonal fruits means likewise mangoes. So mangoes can be considered in a Z crops. Okay. So these are the basic studies regarding the different types of crop. Okay. You can pause here and you can take a screenshot, because you have to write in a homework that what are the types of crop and explain all types of crop. So you need to write this table in your book. Okay. This is basically a very, very important question, because it will be asked in an examination of 2 marks or 3 marks question. Okay. Sometimes the question will be asked as explain the difference between Kharif crop and Rabi crops. Okay. So you can write these same points in that question also. Okay. So fastly you can pause this screen, or you can take this screenshot if you want to take, and then you need to write this question in the homework session. Okay. Now we are going to do a next point, that will be agricultural implements. Okay. So what are the equipments that we are using to do the agricultural practices? These are the some equipments or the implements we are going to use to do the agriculture. First we are using the kurpa. Kurpa is necessary for the weeding. Spade, that is generally necessary for the digging and the bunds formation. Wooden plough will be very important for the tilling process. These are all the equipments I am going to show afterwards this slide. Okay, these all are equipments, photographs will be available with us. We can see that after this slide. Okay, first let us look at the some of the names that is present here and what are the uses for that. Okay, afterwards we will see all the pictures. Soil plank is used for breaking crumbs. Seed drill is used for generally sowing. Harrow is used for generally weeding. So you can see that harrow and kurpa are the same kinds of equipment because it is used for the weeding process. Weeding means what? If we want to remove the unwanted plants surrounding the crops, that can be that whatever the equipment we are using. So what are the equipment we are using? Kurpa and harrow are the some of the equipment that we are using for the weeding process. After that, sickle is for using for the harvesting process. Then sprayer is we are using for the spraying insecticides that generally used to make sure that insects or some of the earthworms cannot damage our crops that we are growing very efficiently or very doing a hard work. So if they damage our crops, then the whole field regarding the crops are get damaged. So we need to protect the crops from the insecticide. So what should we have to do? That we have to do a spraying of insecticide. We have to pesticides and spread the pesticides and insecticides into our agricultural field, and there we have to use the sprayer. Afterwards, what we have to use for harvesting and threshing, we need to use the combine. Okay, these are the some of the equipment. So what we have studied, that these are the agricultural implements or these are the agricultural equipment that we are using in our agricultural practices. Now we are going to discuss about the some of the crop production practices, in which we are going to study about the preparation of soil, sowing. Step by step we are going to see about the each and every individual process in our studies. For that, I have already told you in the first summary of this chapter that we are going to study about the preparation of soil, in which we are going to study about the ploughing and the leveling process in that. We are going to study what is the ploughing process, how can we make sure the ploughing process will be happen, what are the equipments for the ploughing process that we are using is the necessary for the agricultural practices. Afterward, we are going to study about the leveling into the preparation of soil. How can we make the ground level equal for each and every individual field for the growing or the production of the crops in the preparation of soil. What are the equipment that we generally using for the leveling of the preparation of soil. Afterwards, what we have to study, that we have to put seeds into the fields. For that, we have to do the sowing process. Okay, so we have to see that what are the different kinds of technique for the sowing. Generally, there are basically two kinds of technique for the sowing. It will be a modern technique, and first will be the broadcasting technique. In broadcasting technique, we will be seeing that how can we broadcast or how can we put the seeds into the ground manually. And into the modern technique, we have to see we can use the seed drill to sowing the seeds into the field. And then afterwards, we have to see the adding manure and fertilizer process. In manure and fertilizer, first of all, we will discuss what is the difference between the fertilizer and manure and why it is very important for the crop production. Because sometimes what happens that in a soil, the nutrition or the minerals or the vitamins level will be decreased in the soil. So what we have to do, we have to generally increase the level of nutrition, vitamins, minerals. For that, we are using the fertilizer and manure into the soil. We can use the fertilizer like NPK fertilizer or different types of chemical fertilizer to production of the crop. Also, we can use the different kinds of manure, and for that we are going to study about the sum of the manures and how can we prepare the manure artificially and how can we prepare the fertilizer. Okay, we are going to do that study in that point. Afterwards, what we are going to see, that we are going to see what is the process of irrigation. Whenever the agricultural practice or whenever the crop production is happened, make sure you have to give a two kind of thing to that crops. First, what you have to give them, first you want to give them a nutrition. So these are nutritions come from the soil, and for soil we have added the manure and fertilizer into that. But what happened when we are doing an irrigation process, generally we can do, we have to do a water to the crops, okay, we have to give water to that crop field, and that can generally predefine the irrigation system. Afterwards, we are going to protect the weeds, protection from the weeds for our crop, because generally weeds can do more damages, okay, to our crops. Okay, for that we are using the pesticides, insecticides for the general basically, and we can protect from that. Okay, after that we are going to do the harvesting, in which we are going to cutting the crops from the our field. Okay, on basis of different technique there will be harvestings. Okay, we are going to study that, and then afterwards what we are going to do, that after cutting these crops, what we are going to do, that we have to store these crops into some kind of places or some kind of field. Okay, there we need to manage this crop, because if we doesn't get the manage of these crops, that what happened to that crops, then it get wasted. Okay, if we are not going to maintain these crops into the daily basis, then it get wasted. Okay, so these are the storage maintenance that we are going to do. First we will start our study regarding the preparation of soil. So as I have already told you that in a preparation of soil there will be basically two kinds of study where what we have to do. That first one is the ploughing, or as we call as the tilling. Both are the names for the ploughing. Okay, you can use the ploughing name or you can use the tilling name. For the ploughing, it is basically a process regarding the loosening of soil. It means what we have to do, we have to do first the loosening of soil. It means we have to the layer of the soil that get compressed by during the summer season or by the rainy season, we have to expand them, we have to loosen them. Okay, and why this is important to the loosening of the soil is very important to us, because the nutrition and vitamins can reach the seeds easily, and for that this step is very important. Otherwise what happened, then whenever we put the seeds, some of the nutrition, some of the carbohydrates, some of the proteins can't reach the seeds, and then cannot grow the crops. Okay, so for growing the crops and very carefully growing the crop, we have to loosen the soil, and for that we are using the process. Okay, we are using the some of the equipment. Generally we can loosening the soil by using the plough. Okay, and this plough is generally made up of two kinds of things. Generally one type of plough is available by made up from the woods, and another kind of plough is available that is made up from the iron. Okay, we are going to see on the next slide what are the ploughs photographs. Okay, then afterwards allow the roots to penetrate deeper easily. Okay, why it is important, because we can put the seeds into the ground. So if we are losing the soil, then we can grow the seeds inside, and that can merge and that can grow the roots more comprehensively into the soil. So for the growing of the roots into the soil very conveniently, there we can that is why we can use the process of the ploughing. Soil is overturned and properly aerated by a ploughing process. Okay, generally these are the method for the ploughing or the tilling. These are the equipments for plough. This is the wooden plough and this is the iron plough we are using for the doing an ploughing process. Okay, certainly by wooden plough you can do the manually loosening process of the soil, and by using the iron plough. So how can we use this iron plough? We make sure we have to use the tractor with it. Okay, if we are joining this iron plough with the tractor, that can easily loosen the soil that we are growing the crops. Okay, so these are the two kinds of equipments that we are using to plough. Okay, afterwards this is the leveling process. Okay, as I have already told you that in a preparation of soil we are going to do the two kinds of study. First one is the ploughing and second one is the leveling. Why the leveling is now important in our study? Because in a leveling, what should we have to do, that make sure the whole level of the ground is equal. Okay, otherwise what happened, that some of the ground will decrease, decrement level, some of the ground will be on an increment level, so some of the seeds gets more nutrition and they can grow easily, while some of the seeds cannot take the nutrition from the soil and they cannot grow easily. Okay, so we have to make sure that the whole ground level is level. And to do this leveling process, what we have to do, there's a process to make soil surface in the level for sowing the seeds. Okay, done by using the leveler. These are the some of the levelers and the some of the example for the levelers. As we can use the wooden leveler by manually we can doing the leveling process. In earlier days, the farmers are using the wooden leveler to do the whole ground leveler by manually. It takes 15 to 20 days of working for that. Okay, while in a iron leveler, now in a 2 to 3 days we can do the whole fields in a equal level. Okay, now in this modern technique we are using that. Okay, so for that we can use the leveler that is made up by the wood, or we can use the leveler that is made up by the iron lever. Okay, now let us take a next point, that will be sowing. It will be the second point in the agricultural practices. Okay, first is the preparation of soil. In preparation of soil, there will be two subcategories. In subcategories, we have to study about the ploughing, and another study will be about the leveling. Afterwards, in agricultural practice, there will be a second study regarding the sowing. What we have to do in a sowing, that if we are putting the seeds, okay, what we have to do, if we want to grow the crop, then we have to put the seeds, na? Then if we want to put the seeds into this whole ground level, we can do the manually or we can do the easiest way. Okay, so in earlier days we are using the manually by hand, using we can throw the seeds into the field that we are growing the crops. Okay, if we are throwing the seeds into the field, that can be method as called as the broadcasting. As you can see here in a photograph, this method is known as a broadcasting. Okay, before and this is the modern, and the nowadays we are using this technique for the seed drills. We can put the whole seeds here, and afterward we can rotate this drill into our whole farm. So that can it can easily reduce the seeds from each and every level of the ground. Okay, so this is the method nowadays we are using, but these are the methods that we are using in earlier days. Okay, so generally we can write that the putting the seeds into ground is the method will be called as the sowing. Okay, now next one is applying in manure and fertilizer. Okay, but going on that topic, how can we write the question in examination? Suppose the question will be asked in examination like that, explain the preparation of soil. The question will be asked like that, explain the preparation of soil. So what should we have to do? First you need to write the 2 steps for preparation of soil, in which you have to write that ploughing and leveling. Okay, for ploughing you need to define what is ploughing, and afterwards you need to define what is leveling and what are the equipment that you using for ploughing and leveling. Okay, you need to explain the answer like that. You need to write 2 to 3 points in ploughing and 2 to 3 points in a leveling. Then you can get the full marks in that. Afterwards, suppose you have asked the question of explain sowing process. Then you can write that there will be 2 methods for sowing the seeds. Okay, if we put the seeds into ground, the method will be called as the sowing. Okay, and there are the 2 methods that we can use for the sowing. What is the first method? That it is right here, broadcasting. And another method is seed drill. By using a seed drill or by using a broadcasting, you can do the sowing method. Okay. So these are the questions that you have to write in a homework. First question will be you have to write what are the some of the agricultural practices. You need to write the 7 points for that. Second question you have to write the explain preparation of soil, and third question you have to write explain the sowing in to explain sowing. Okay. And also there is the two definition I have already given you that will be very important, that is crops and agriculture. Okay, so that's it for today. Thank you very much for this lecture. If you had any kind of doubt, you can ask me on the comment section. You can ask me on a personally on my WhatsApp. Okay, till then, bye bye everyone. Till then, bye bye everyone, and take care of yourself.